Have you ever met someone who just isn't looking for love? And what's more, they seem genuinely happy about it. Well, today we're going to dive into the fascinating psychology behind that choice. It's something that gets misunderstood a lot, so we're going to break down what's really going on when someone decides to stop chasing romance.
I bet you've seen it, right? A friend, a coworker, maybe it's even you, who seems completely at peace being single. They're not endlessly swiping on dating apps, they're not asking to be set up. And you might wonder how and why. It's really not about giving up, and that's exactly what we're about to get into.
So let's talk about the big misconception here. Because society, well, it has a pretty strong narrative about being single. And if you're not actively out there looking for love, people tend to jump to conclusions. And let's be honest, they're usually not very positive ones. Okay, so what do people usually think? The assumption is that someone who stops looking for love must be bitter or lonely or maybe just afraid of getting hurt again. But the reality? It's often the complete opposite. It's a conscious choice that's actually rooted in self-awareness and empowerment. It's not about rejecting love, not at all. It's about choosing yourself first. And let's be super clear on this. Stepping back from the dating scene isn't about being cold or apathetic. It's actually a massive sign of high emotional intelligence. It shows you have a really deep understanding of your own needs and the courage to set some serious boundaries. So why do people make this conscious choice? It's definitely not a random decision. It's usually driven by a series of very intentional reasons, and they all center on personal well-being. There are basically 5 core drivers behind this. It often kicks off with self-awareness. This is that light bulb moment when you recognize a toxic pattern in your dating life, and you just decide, you know what? No more. From there, it's about prioritizing growth, taking all that energy you were spending on dating and channeling it into your own goals. It's also about building resilience by giving yourself real time to heal instead of just slapping a Band-Aid on old wounds. This space allows for gaining clarity on what you truly want, so you're not just accepting anyone who comes along. And all of this leads to the big one, emotional independence. That powerful realization that your self-worth comes from you, not from someone else's validation.
All right, making this kind of intentional choice really builds a whole different mindset. It's one that's emotionally mindful and puts you squarely in the driver's seat of your own happiness. So let's break down what that actually looks like.
So, what does this mindset look like in practice? Well, these are the folks who are fiercely independent and really introspective. They've learned from past experiences, which makes them cautious, but not out of fear. It's because they're being selective with their precious emotional energy. They don't just hand it out to anyone. And crucially, they learn to truly value solitude, seeing it as a time to recharge and reflect, not as some kind of punishment. What this all boils down to is a core concept called emotional mindfulness. It's simply the awareness that constantly chasing love without a clear head can be incredibly draining. I mean, it can lead to anxiety, stress, and that awful feeling that you're just not good enough. So, these individuals make a conscious choice to protect their peace. See, instead of pouring all that energy into finding a partner, they pour it into building a life that is already whole and fulfilling. They get deep into their hobbies, they travel, they focus on their careers, they nurture their friendships. They literally create a life that feels complete, with or without a romantic relationship.
Now, you might think this is all about avoiding heartbreak, right? Just a defensive move, but it's so much more than that. Choosing to step back actually comes with a whole host of surprising psychological benefits that strengthen you from the inside out. And oh man, the psychological gains are huge. Just think about the massive reduction in stress and anxiety from all the endless swiping and awkward first dates. You develop way stronger boundaries because you're not afraid to say no. Your self-worth absolutely skyrockets when it's no longer tied to whether someone swiped right on you. And all that freed up energy, you can pour it into personal growth, building incredible emotional resilience for whatever life throws your way next. There's a quote that just hits the nail on the head with this one. It reminds us that true, sustainable happiness is an inside job. And once you really, truly get that, the desperate need for someone else's affection just kind of fades away.
And that right there, that realization, it leads to this huge shift in perspective. Love stops being something you feel you need to survive and becomes something you want to complement an already amazing life. Just think about the difference between needing love and wanting love. On one hand, you have needing love. That's usually driven by stuff like fear or loneliness, right?
You're looking for someone to fill a void, to give you validation. But wanting love, that comes from a place of wholeness and choice. It's based on mutual respect, and it brings stability to a connection, not desperation. And here's the beautiful irony in all of this. By not chasing love, these individuals often become way more capable of forming stronger, healthier, and more meaningful connections when the right person eventually does come along. They're not looking for their other half because they're already whole. So if there's one thing to remember from all of this, it's this. Choosing to pause the pursuit of love isn't a sign of weakness or failure. It is an act of profound wisdom and, frankly, self-respect. And that really leaves us with a big question to ask ourselves. So take a moment and look at your own life. Are you building a world where love would be a wonderful, beautiful addition? Or are you operating as if it's an absolute requirement for your happiness? The answer to that question might just change everything.